Hello, welcome to my show. My name's Patrick, and I did some dowsing earlier today, the last few days. This morning I did some a couple dowsing tarot cards with the major arcana, and I just say pick for me. And I asked my higher self, which is connected to the cosmic Christ, to tell us kind of like where is this going, this the impeachments. And you know, I still get, like I have for the last couple of years, about impeachment. There's no energy there. It's not going to be a real impeachment. Now this whole new inquiry, it's not real. I don't know what it is. They call it an inquiry, but there's nothing there. I get low energy, and I'm still leaning to they're looking for a way out, maybe to get out of this situation. Maybe just pass a resolution behind closed door and said we should look into the Senate should look into the impeachment or something. They'll say some verbiage that's not legal. And the problem is Mitch Mcconnell, he's kind of a weak leader. And I know they say, oh, he's doing all that. He's not doing anything. He has the Senate. He's a majority. They should be pounding away. This is smash mouth football. And if you had a real leader in the Senate, you wouldn't be having this impeachment inquiry. That's the truth. You're going to go, and right now no bills are making it through. I know Mitch McConnell's doing all the judiciary things, but visually, optically, what the people are seeing, everybody feels kind of frustrated with his leadership. And when I dowse who would be a good leader, Mitch McConnell, he's coming up at 3.5. Again, it's below normal. 4 is normal. He would be average. Somebody like Rand Paul, he dows it, he would be like a 9. He would be an exceptional. He knows how to play the game. He's younger, and you just start hitting him. You just say, you got to let them know it's going to cost them something. And everybody's afraid to look, especially the older senators. I don't know why. They want to look like a statesman. They're afraid they're going to be look like we're going to be not a statesman. We're not fair. Well, you're looking weak, and that's why they have the impeachment inquiry, because they look weak. They feel weak. The Senate is not doing anything. You do have people like Mitt Romney running around. He's weak. And if a weak man is throwing hand grenades in the process, something's wrong. And so I just blame it on Mitch McConnell. He lost the governorship of Kentucky. What's going on here? That should have been an easy Republican. I know they said, I know all the little stuff. Oh, it was local. No, it wasn't local. This is all races are about the national level right now. Everything. Even a lot of these minor state offices, it's about partisanship. It's about who's behind changing the course of the country in this correction. And it's not happening. It's not happening. So if Trump wants to be president this summer, things are going to have to change dramatically. And I wouldn't be surprised some of the things we discussed before may happen. We don't see him. I don't know where Q's showing up. He's showing up on this other board. How do we know it's him? Do we have validity? It's him. But the argument they always made was, we're going to have this revolution. What? You guys are here? We're going to have this revolution, by bringing the republic back, the Constitution back to life. You're not going to see it. That's what they want. They want to do it with people not seeing it, have all these arrests, have all these trials, and you wouldn't know that it took place, essentially. If we have to bring out troops, that will be an emergency, like the plan's not working. So I understand that argument, but it's getting frustrating that a lot of this should have taken place. My dowsing says this, and I'll go back to, yes? What do you want? You want to channel the chicken world? He was just telling me he doesn't like this genetically modified corn, but sorry, that's my budget, and that's what he gets. They actually don't eat it. They almost won't eat it unless they're like starving. It tells you a lot about that food quality. They know. Animals know. Anyway, I'm going to ramble a little bit. I'll get back to I'll finish up on the committee. The committee is nothing. I dowsed this morning, and somebody else, I think, somebody I recommend their tarot, go to her, Intuitive something, Edge. I think she said it got a tower. And I got a tower for next month for the committee, the inquiry as well. So that's like 2 towers. And then I did Shift, and he got the tower for next month. And then I got Trump. I think I got the Empress for him. And then the country, I'm not sure about that one. And then for the country I got next month is the Emperor. So it's kind of like positive. I think all those cards are like, there's a course correction coming here, and I wouldn't be surprised. And in the background you saw Obama say twice, almost in a week, in 2 weeks, he came out and really reprimanded the Democrats for going off on these extremes, especially like the Democratic candidates, all this extremes. And he goes, well, the people are not going to vote for it. And then they all called him they called him names for being like a traitor or a wimp dog or something. But he's right. The country's not going to vote for it. And you may not have the rigged ballot boxes like you used to. So, and I still get the Democrats at about 24% of the country, even though the polls and everything have them at like 45. They're not 45. They're 25. They're stuffing the ballot box. It's a big issue coming up in the election. How are we going to fix it? I keep getting that they are trying to fix it. The internal passport is going to be a voting card, and we'll lose all our rights. But, is that our solution? I hope not. I hope not. And I don't know if they can get that in time. So, Alex Jones had someone copied his program and put it on YouTube. It's kind of funny. And he was talking to Steve Panesic. I always butcher this name. I don't know why. And he was the ex-CIA man. He was a psychologist. And he always tells you, I went to Harvard. That's when Harvard mattered. Harvard degrees don't matter anymore. They're just like, they give them to anyone. People who are unqualified, they're low, like they all have low SAT scores. They consider other issues that are more important. And the Asian students sued because they were being discriminated against because they're Asian and because they study hard. And they go, well, on our entrance application, when we judge your application, Asian students don't have a personality. They actually said this, and the Asian students got really mad because they study and they do well on these tests. They put in really long hours, and what happens? They do well on the SATs, and Harvard penalized them for studying too much. So now we're going to consider. They're saying one of the issues. Social justice warrior, liberal activism. You put that down on your application, you'll probably get in. You can't add. You have to use Common Core math, which is like stupid. You don't want to go on an airplane by Boeing by an engineer with Common Core. You want the best engineer you can find. So that's all a side note. Back to Alex Jones. They talked for about 30 minutes, and at the end of it, they were talking about Trump and what I talked about earlier. And this was a couple days ago. And they both said, okay, they talked about Q briefly, and they said, well, Q, we don't know who he is, but we think that people who follow Q, this is Alex Jones, are almost in make-believe land because they're laying back and they're not like being active, And it's kind of like the frustration I was talking about earlier. People are they're frustrated. We see that the Republicans, not just Republicans, more like the constitutionalists, people who want to see the republic, with all these freedoms. We're being judged for who we are, not by these make-believe things. These make-believe, people can call you racist because of what? Because they're racist. They go around calling everybody racist. They're calling everybody misogynist. They're calling everybody privileged. Well, that's a failed country. Then it's over. Then nothing works. The planes don't fly, the trains don't come in on time, and the food doesn't come into the supermarket. Usually people who are calling other people a racist are lazy. They're C students. I'm a C plus student. And they really have nothing to bring to the table other known or otherwise. What do they bring to the table? Acrimony, friction, fracture, oppression. This leads me to the Nazis. I don't know how I found this. I guess I was on a Russian site, that Inside Russian. I don't know who they are. They're all over the place. They're talking, but anyway, they found a pamphlet from 1938 that the Nazis put out, 1938, and it was directed to the young men, like boys, 14, 15, 16, right around there. And these are the young men that they drafted into the army at the end of the war and sent them to the Normandy front. When the Allies landed, a lot of those were this, I don't know, you call them Hitler Youth, but what they did, they ran out of soldiers, so they went and got these kids. They were still teenagers. It's just awful. You should see the pictures of them. They're just 15. They don't know what's going on. And in retrospect, the Americans said those teenagers were really hard to fight. He said they didn't give an inch. They were really brave, and it's because they're brainwashed. They're brainwashed. They're teenagers. That's what you do with them. You brainwash them. And this pamphlet was telling you how to be an honorable citizen or something as a young man. And you're reading through, and it goes, what is a Nazi? A Nazi is a National Socialist. All right? And then it's a short pamphlet, but it had talk about faith and fate. The faith had nothing to do with Christianity. The Nazis were not Christians. There wasn't a Catholic in there. That's what people don't realize. They were secularists. That's who the Nazis were. They hated the church. I don't know if they have any pictures of Hitler in a cathedral. I don't know. I don't think so. But they probably do. He was more interested in the sphere of Longinus. He was more interested in the occult. He was more interested in Parsifal in a negative way. He read Parsifal, that was written from his Nazi point of view. Nazi means National Socialism. It's a form of socialism. In this pamphlet, they're describing what National Socialism is. It goes, there is no private property. It says right there, you own no property. The state lets you use it. If you own a business, we're letting you use it. If you have a farm, we're letting you use it. If you don't use it the way we want, we'll come and take it and give it to someone else. This is the same thing the Democrats are saying now. They're actually National Socialists. They're Nazis. There is no private property. Obama said this in a speech a couple of years ago. He said, your small business, you didn't make it. That's what he said. You did not make that business. He said the state made it. Because we give you roads, we give you telephone and sewer lines, and we give you the laws and structure. We're just loaning you that space for your store or that farm for you to grow. It's really crazy. It came, and I'm reading this National Socialism, and I'm going, that's what Nazism is. And I think Stalin said, well, the Nazis and the communists, we have the same goals. is that communism gets you to the goal faster, which is you just kill off a couple generations. That's what he did. You kill off all the parents, the grandparents, you just kill them off. That's what they did in the Ukraine. They just killed them all because they were all Orthodox Christians. That's what they did. They killed the Orthodox Christian peasants who couldn't read, and they got rid of their belief structure, and all you have are just young people who you can form the way you want. You can shape their mind their way they want. I didn't mean to get off on that, but it's kind of showing you what we're against. We're not, you can call them communists, you can call them Nazis. It's the same thing. Sal Lewinsky, the person, or the Weather Underground from the late 60s. Remember the DA now of San Francisco? His father's in jail for killing someone. He did that. These people are like that. They're Nazis. They're communists in the Bolshevik definition. You got to kill. If the people get killed, that's too bad. We have to get to our goal. There are no rights. The Constitution is dead. That's why it's so important what's going on. And we get back to Mitch McConnell. He's like playing Senate. Oh, I'm the cool, calm one. Do something. Do something. Do something. Be imaginative. Be creative. He has tremendous power. They're not doing anything. They're not doing anything. And neither is Graham. Graham's weak. He's for Trump a couple times, and then he's against him on something minor. The only thing the House passed was, as part of the spiritual battle I'm talking about, was when they got the Republicans to get together with Democrats, and they got them to vote on, like Trump did something bad, right? Trump said something. You remember it. This happened like 3 weeks ago. That's the only thing they passed, was criticizing Trump for something. They got Democrats to go on with this. No. A real leader would say, no, we're not having any votes. You have 100% discipline in your party. That's called party discipline. In the parliamentarian system in London and in Canada, you usually have 100% discipline on most major bills. And that would be considered major. You don't attack your party leader, which would be Trump. Never, ever. Unless you're bringing down the government. They want to start over, call an election. But this wasn't that. These Republicans, they're weak. From these weak, we're in a borderline state. Then get out of the party. Get out of the way. We're saving the country. That's how important the next 6 months is. And so that's what Alex Jones was complaining about. He was going like, well, and the two of them would get together, the ex-CIA guy saying, we got to get rid of so-and-so. And they're picking out all the people you got to get rid of. They said the White House staff is too big. Cut it down by a lot. Cut the State Department down by a lot. Get it down to the bare bones. Get rid of 70%, something like that. But when I dowse it, the dowsing's actually saying the Q approach is happening. It's actually going on. Things are going on in the background. Arrests are being made. But it's pretty frustrating when the narrative of what's being described on CNN and MSNBC is not doing that. So the dowsing saying it is taking place, and there's not a lot they can do. Everybody's trying to, on a spiritual level, what they're really trying to do is prevent the evolution of the planet frequency. It took me 20 minutes to get to this point. The frequency of the planet is raising, so they're trying to cause this conflict. They're trying to cause wars against Russia, against anyone they can, and they actually have slowed us down a little bit. They might even brought us down a little bit, but they won't be able to. It's kind of like it's a temporary. We're stopping and we'll go again. They can't stop it, but that's part of it. So I get it. I like Alex Jones in a way. I mean, he's done a lot of work, but I disagree with him on that. he doesn't. He's not seeing the whole picture correctly. That's what I see. He's not seeing the whole picture. He's misinterpreting some things, and he might know some things and he's not telling us. He might be holding back for whatever reasons. He's not saying certain, but he's of the school of thought like, let's get some hand grenades out there. Let's reduce the size of government. Trump has to go out there and fire these people and get real. Like, for example, they don't like Barr. They think he's a wuss. He's not hard enough. They don't like Ray of the FBI. He's a wuss. Like, these people aren't hard hitting. Mitch McConnell, he's like, but I douse Mitch McConnell as a weak leader. And I do douse that Rand Paul would be much better at the job. And that might be a switch to consider. And I don't know who these Republicans voted to censor, but they should all be like fired, or you can't fire them. Kick them out of the cloakroom or something. Take away their food card. I mean, this is like stupid. You don't vote during this crisis. You don't make it look like you're fair, because nothing's fair right now. Everybody knows it's a fist fight. It's bloody, and you got to hit back in unison, or they can pull something off on this impeachment trial, this impeachment inquiry. They could describe it and make it look like something. If you get some of these Republicans voting on, oh, the president tweeted something bad, we're going to reprimand him. No, you're in the wrong fight. You're really in the wrong fight. At the point we are today in this crisis, and everything I douse is we're in a crisis. Anyway, the tower from two different people for the committee, for Schiff, whatever it was, that's not good for them. That's a bad card. And I get the Wheel of Fortune for December. Well, that could be bad or good, the Wheel of Fortune, but it's fate. And kind of rambling a little bit, but that's kind of like where we are. We're going to move forward. This committee stuff, I don't know what they're going to do, but it's going to be nothing. It's not going to impact Trump. That's the bottom line. Whatever they do, and it goes to the Senate, whether they have a little trial or not, it doesn't matter. It's just like there's no energy there. And the country is like getting focused on the bigger stuff, like Roger Stone. Roger Stone, he lost his trial. Why did he lose his trial? They had quite a few plants on the jury. And I forget how one of them, they kicked off finally because Alex Jones said he did it. I don't know. But some individual was like married to one of the dossier crooks people. And so the dossier now is, I saw somebody call it the Brennan dossier, because I think they're going to pin it on him. They're going to sink him into concrete shoes and just throw him in the Hudson, because I think they're going to frame him. And he's not the only one, but they usually just like one big fall guy, he might be it. And if they start calling it the Brennan dossier, we have issues. So, where did they go? Are they here? No, they took off. That's Brennan. And I want to end with, I was going to say something about that. It's just going to get really, really dark. It's going to get rough. And I'm not sure about this election. All right. I have to spend time on it. I have to sit down and think about it and ask for a dream or something. Right now, I'm leaning towards I'm leaning towards. I should ask about Trump's health, because he went and got an examination that wasn't scheduled. He went to the doctor at Walter Reed, and they checked on few. I think it's very stressful. He's been doing this for almost 3 years, and no one's helping him. That's what I'm telling you about. Mitch McConnell is just not helping him. He's not carrying his load. And the Republicans in the Senate, or in the Congress, who voted on a nothing bill to gang up on Trump to make themselves look big, that was unforgivable. They should be driven out of the party. I don't know where the party discipline is. This is like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. They're trying to look, like they're fair. Oh, we're fair. We feel they're calling him racist. They're calling America racist, misogynist. They're trying to put transgender in girls' rooms. And you go on. The list goes on. It's really overwhelming. And they're worried about a tweet. These are the Republicans. They don't got their head straight on. These people are like they're being paid off or what? That's a major problem. And Mitch McConnell is part of the problem. He could go over from the Senate and go yell at the House Republicans and say, "Get your act together." He's not using his office. He's not using it. And say your district is not going to get that bridge. That's how you do it. Never ever. You vote against the president, you don't get that bridge because it has to go through the Senate. The money comes from Congress, the House goes to the Senate. He can say a lot. He's not doing anything. He's almost a fuddy-dud, and he probably won't want to hear that. But he lost Kentucky. He lost that governorship. They didn't do their homework. He's disconnected. He should resign and give it to Rand Paul. Somebody younger, a little bit. I don't know. Rand Paul's probably 55, 60. That's young. And so that's that. I doubt some other thing that were unique, and I can't really recall. I wanted to say that I thought it was interesting. Obama came out twice and reprimanded his own party, especially the candidates for their radicalism, essentially. And they hit him back. Now, it could be he genuinely wants the party to go back to the center. He could be acknowledging Biden as a front runner. I still have, I haven't done it in a while, but what's his name? Bloomberg. So he came out. I don't know if he's running. He keeps threatening to run. I don't know. Did he throw his hat in? But you remember, was it a week ago or so I did it? He was getting close, and I said 2% chance. He might have seen the video because I don't know if he's doing anything. Reuters, usually a little bit reliable. They came out with a poll, and he got 3% in the poll. People, they don't like him. They don't know him. He's a New York City mayor. That's not a selling point. And he's short. I mean, he's really short. They say he's like 5'6". I don't believe it. He's probably 5'5". He's really dinky guy. And Americans don't vote for short presidents. This is because it's short stature. You have short. Trump is 6'2", and even Trump cheats. I'm 6'3". You know that? He's trying to blow himself up because Americans like a John Wayne president. It's just true. And I think Jimmy Carter was pretty short. That's one of our shorter ones. But by and large, Reagan was tall. The Bushes were kind of tall, I know. And I don't know what Clinton was, but he's tallish. They don't want you standing next to the world leaders, and we're the United States, and we got a little short guy. And I know that's not political correct, but it's very important. It's very important. These things are really important. And people, even the radical left, even though they claim to be all this, social justice, they want a tall leader. They would rather have Kaepernick as their leader because he's like 6'4", 6'5". They don't want some of these other short guys, like Don Lemon, I think is short, isn't he? So that's that. He's gone. And they got the guy from Massachusetts. I doused him, the governor. He's nothing. These are no-shows. They're all no-shows. I don't think you can pull anyone out of the Democrats other than Hillary. And Hillary, as you know, on this show, has been dead. She died before the last election, like a month before. Other people said she died this year at the beginning. Whatever. A lot of people said she's dead. This is a double, and they have ways to make it look authentic. And people are lazy. They're not looking at the the earlobes, the nose, the jaw, the hairline, things like that. And it's just a double. They don't know. But let's pretend it is the real Hillary. I don't have her getting it. I have Biden kind of getting it. He's still in the lead. And it's incredible because you have all this information showing how corrupt they were. They got millions from the Chinese and the Ukrainians. It's not, he's a little bit down in the polls, but wait till Iowa comes around. Wait till New Hampshire comes around. He's going to win those, all right? He'll win them. Or you do like 10 primaries and there'll be a winner. You'll see who's going to win. It's really, if we have an election, it's still there. There's an issue there, and you have to realize, when did we not have a presidential election? Never. We never had that, except for Lincoln in his first, when the war started, and his general, was it McClellan, who he ran against. So it would be like Mattis running against Trump. So his general runs against him, and they went to Lincoln before the election and say, well, let's just call a national emergency and just skip it. We'll have the House vote for it or something and make you president for another 4 years. And he said no. He said, because no matter how bad things get, we have to have the election. That's the critical. It's critical to the heartbeat of the soul of America. And that's about the only thing I agree with him. I didn't agree with a lot of things. I don't think much of him in some ways. He doesn't dowse very well. And I think it's because the casualties in that war were so high. It was so gruesome and bloody. It was a physical war with bayonets and stuff. It was a gruesome war. And the dowsing almost says there are other ways to do it. And they had other, but they didn't. They wanted this war. The power behind the scenes wanted the war. And they pushed Lincoln towards this war. And Lincoln was willing to do it. He thought, well, and it was more of an economic thing too. That, the South was not cooperating, and the slavery issue was just there to use. They wanted a war, and from the Northern money, slavery gave them the cover to do the war. But when you dowse it and you look at it, it's one of the darkest wars. It's one of the most wars we didn't have to have. And I'm sure other people would agree with it, but we don't have the documentation. We don't have the documentation to prove that. And so you're stuck. So they took all these teenage boy farmers from the Midwest and they just slaughtered them in all these battles. It was really, really bad. And the pictures are really bad. And, okay, so Lincoln, even in the middle of a war that he was essentially losing, had an election. So if we're contemplating, I'm contemplating this prediction, we're even thinking about, well, can get to a point in the spring where things are happening, we might call off the election. That's pretty bad. So what's going to happen in the next 6 months? That sort of thing. So I'll keep monitoring it, because if there's a will, there's a way to get to these spots. And okay, I'm gonna go collect some eggs and see what I got today. They're kind of shorting me, and they're not working as hard as they used to. I'm a communist, I run the production. Okay, thank you very much. Things are going to be good. Trump, the country's going to have a good month in December, in essence, and Trump is going to be okay next month. I think I have to go dowse him again. I forget what it was, but it was a good card, and Adam Schiff is not going to have a good month, and his committee is not going to have a good month. so that the lightning bolt will come down from God, and probably things will be exposed. Okay, thank you.